the answers to the most frequently asked questions that I've been getting about humanitarian parole for Afghan nationals. First, can a family file for humanitarian parole using one application? And the answer is no. Each family member has to have their own application for humanitarian parole. That also means they each need to pay their own filing fee of $575 or apply for a fee waiver. The next question is it even worth applying for humanitarian parole if there's no embassy in Afghanistan to ultimately process the parole? Now, the answer to this is pretty tricky. Anytime someone applies for humanitarian parole, USCIS here in the United States has to approve the application for parole. Once USCIS approves the parole, the Department of State is notified, and the person who's receiving parole has to complete a DS-160, which is the non-immigrant visa application, and also has to go to the embassy to get their fingerprints taken and ultimately get their parole document. In Afghanistan, there is no embassy, so at this point in time, it's really hard to say how an individual is actually going to be able to get the benefit of their parole if they're stuck inside of Afghanistan. This is language from an approved parole application for an Afghan national, where USCIS is recognizing that the embassy is closed in Kabul, but they're going to notify the Department of State about the parole, and they will contact the person receiving parole with further instructions. So based on that language, it's really hard to say what their plan is, but they do go on to say that if you are able to get to a third country where there is a U.S. embassy, then you can notify USCIS and processing can happen in that third country. The benefit of applying for the parole, even if you or your loved one are in Afghanistan, is that it does provide you an immigration solution or a pathway to get to the United States should you be able to evacuate from Afghanistan. The parole document is also good for 30 days, so if an individual is able to leave outside of Afghanistan within that time period, they get the benefit of that parole document. If they aren't able to, due to extenuating circumstances, there can be an attempt made to get the parole document reissued. Another commonly asked question is, can I file for parole even if the U.S. troops are withdrawing as of August 31st? Is USCIS going to still accept it? And the answer to that is yes, USCIS will still accept those applications. There is no deadline on Afghan nationals for submitting humanitarian parole. And lastly, how long does it take for a humanitarian parole application to be adjudicated? USCIS is expediting the applications for parole filed for Afghan nationals. It's hard to say how long it's going to take to get a decision on an application, but some of them can come back within a few days. If you have any more questions on humanitarian parole for Afghan nationals, feel free to drop them in the comments. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok for more immigration news and information.